1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster.
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Hello, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am your host, Honey Bee.
And I'm your other host, Precious D.
And today we are reviewing Mighty Joe Young.
Yes, from 1949. RKO Studios, black and white, 93 minutes.
Oh man, these movies are so long. 93 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is.
Found this one long?
Yeah, I mean, not just like this one. I just feel like in particular, these movies from the 1930s and 40s so far have proven to just be very long.
Oh, I thought it felt kind of short, especially compared to some of the blockbusters today that are 2 hours.
I guess it's just like it's just different whenever the movie is so, I guess, just different from what we're used to, like the graphics that we're used to and the music, like the underscore, things like that, just to, like kind of take you out of it, I guess.
Makes it go slow for you.
Yes, a little slow. I did, however, this was my favorite movie so far. I feel like the movies get better every time.
Uh-huh.
So that's good.
There will be some ups and downs. This one is once again directed by Ernest B. Schoedsack, produced by Marion C. Cooper, from a story by Marion C. Cooper, script by Ruth Rose, effects by Wills O'Brien. This is the Kong reunion picture.
Yeah, I don't understand how they're connected. I guess we'll get into that at some point, but
Well,
it was...
They're not necessarily connected plot-wise, but it's the same production team, and we've got our man, not Denham, Armstrong playing a similar but not identical part. So it's the same group going back to the same basic idea, but approaching a different way. This is Schoedsack's last picture, apart from the introduction to a weird thing called This Is Cinerama.
Okay.
Years later, I believe it was years later, I didn't write down the date, the new movie format, Cinerama, was coming out, and they produced this sort of promo film really to demonstrate the advantages of Cinerama. So it's like there's a roller coaster section, and there's a plane flying around filming landscapes, and
okay.
So it's not a movie with any kind of story. It's just showing off the technology. And Schoedsack just directed the introduction.
Was there a giant gorilla?
There was not. It starts off with a guy, I think he's in black and white, but he's certainly in a small aspect ratio and talking about Cinerama. And then he's like, and now here's the Cinerama. And the curtain opens up, and we now see it was like a curved screen, and it was a big deal. So Schoedsack just directed that little intro part. So apart from that, which isn't really directing a movie, this was his last movie. I also discovered some trivia that I had missed before. Ruth Rose, the screenwriter, is his wife.
Oh.
Or he is her husband, depending on your point of view. So they worked together several times. And in this movie, we see a name that we're going to see again a few times, Ray Harryhausen. Are you familiar with Mr. Harryhausen at all?
I am not.
He was the king of stop motion animation, but this is the beginning of his career. He is listed as the first technician on this movie. He saw King Kong as a child, and it changed his life. And then years later, he got a job as basically the head assistant on this movie. But Wills O'Brien ended up dealing with a lot of other technical crap, and most of the animation is in this movie is actually by Ray Harryhausen.
Wow, that is some good trivia.
His name will pop up as the head guy in some of the other movies we'll be watching later. The budget on this one was $1.8 million. box office 1.95 million. And Wikipedia says a $675,000 loss. So maybe there was a little more to the budget, like for advertising and stuff, that ended up meaning it was a loss, even though the numbers show it's a slight gain. You know, those Hollywood accountants, you know.
Oh, those Hollywood accountants.
Yeah. Under featured monsters, I've written Joe and drunk assholes.
Yes, who were really the real monsters in this film. I am having a hard time considering this a monster movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just in here because it's part of the progression from King Kong to the later stuff.
Right.
And the last thing from that Kong team. It's the last part of the prologue to the main history of these kind of movies, I think.
Heard bird.
We have Terry Moore playing Jill, playing older Jill. And she was later nominated for Best Supporting Actress in Comeback Little Sheba and was sort of married to Howard Hughes.
Who is Howard Hughes?
He was a famous eccentric rich guy. The idea of the crazy rich recluse comes from Howard Hughes.
Okay.
In his younger life, he was obviously a successful businessman because he was thinking rich and innovated a lot of stuff. But later in life, he developed various mental issues that caused him to become secluded and maybe not take care of himself, let his hair grow out, let his nails grow out, just went crazy, went in isolation. But earlier on, he was maybe married to Terry Moore, maybe not. She says that they got married by a ship's captain, and then Hughes seized the ship's log and destroyed it.
What?
And then went on, yeah, because I guess he changed his mind, and probably before they got back to shore. And then they never got actually divorced, and she went on to marry other people. And so then years later, when he dies and she tries to assert some rights in the will, they're like, well, but you married these other people and you're basically admitting you're not married to him if you married them.
Right.
Either that or you're guilty of bigamy.
Heyo.
His heirs did acknowledge that at the very least she had some sort of long-term relationship with him, and they settled and gave her some money.
Well, that was nice.
And I didn't write her name down, but the girl that plays the young Jill had a weird life too, in that a few years after this, there was a custody dispute with her birth mother and her adopted mother. Her adopted mother was supposedly starving her so that she could stay small for
Oh
movie.
my gosh.
And the judge leaves her with the adopted mother, but says, go back to Texas and take care of her. Like basically get out of Hollywood. And then years later, she is arrested and convicted for stealing. She and her second husband stole her first husband's car and went on a tear and stole somebody else's car. So, early example of child star gone bad, I guess.
Damn. You've got all of the chisme about these people.
Well, I just, it wasn't my intention to go in all this, but I kept stumbling on all this bizarre stuff. So I thought we should mention it. And of course, starring Ben Johnson as Greg in his first role, Robert Armstrong as not Carl Denham, Max O'Hara, and Mr. Joseph Young. So they're pulling that Kong thing again, where giving him a credit as if he's a real person.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Joseph Young as himself, question mark?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
So let's get into the movie itself. According to Wikipedia, it's 1937 in Tanganyika, Africa. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. A territory in Africa, but I don't remember the movie ever saying specifically where in Africa they were.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It just like pops up like the words like Africa.
Yeah, but and maybe that's where they filmed it, and that's why Wikipedia or filmed part of it, and that's why Wikipedia thinks that's where it takes place. But this is apparently a territory under British control at that time. And we see in the credits, opening credits, some Africans carrying packs and bundles across a river doing some kind of work.
Hmm.
And then this little girl with a doll, and two men come by, two African men just in like loincloths with a bundle carried between them on two sticks. Or is it one stick? A
I
bundle
think it's just one.
carried, carried between them on a long stick. These guys fascinate me.
Yeah, yeah. Like what? Why? I don't understand why they don't understand her.
She speaks Swahili. She's
Right.
grown up. She's grown up on a farm. She's a little white girl, grown up on a farm run by her father. Apparently, they employ lots of the locals because they're colonizers and whatnot. So she speaks Swahili, and these men don't.
Right.
And I believe Swahili is like the most widely spoken African language. There's hundreds of, maybe even thousands of languages in Africa, but Swahili is a big one, and it's the one that's spoken in this territory. They don't speak it. So where are they coming from, and
Right.
where are they going to? And they're on foot with this bundle that she looks inside, and we don't see yet what it is, but she wants to buy what's inside. And because they don't speak Swahili, she's got to get her idea across to them that she wants to buy it.
With
And
charades.
yes, with charades. But I prefer this to them speaking some sort of tacky pigeon English.
Agreed.
So she goes and gathers some things around the house, including her father's flashlight, which she acknowledges does not belong to her. And therefore, she is stealing it to buy this thing. And once they agree, then we find out that the thing in the basket is a baby gorilla.
Yeah, which I don't know why this shocked me so much, but it did. When it like opens and it's like the little reveal, I was like, "Holy shit, it's a whole damn gorilla." I was so surprised.
The minute she
That's what-
sees this, the minute she sees this thing before we do, she is just so in love with it that she wants to buy it. But I want to know who these guys are.
Yeah.
They're coming from somewhere and going somewhere. One of the places they're either coming or going to is far enough away that they don't speak Swahili there.
Right.
We don't know if these guys are going back home or if they're coming from home and taking this somewhere. Why do they have it? What do they plan to do with it? It couldn't have been that important, whatever it is, because they instantly decide.
They took a flashlight for it.
Yeah. Then I forget what we were gonna do. This flashlight and Jack in the Box and random trinkets are a better deal than whatever it was we were planning to do with this thing. But I'm wondering, based on how big Joe ends up becoming, which is 12 feet, are they coming from the vicinity of Skull Island?
But could they be coming from Skull Island if it completely sunk in the last film?
I mean, this is supposedly in 1937, but could not from Skull. They could be coming from Skull Island itself, but are they coming from that area? Are they coming? Has an ape from Skull Island somehow washed up?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would be 4 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously coming from someplace that has giant gorillas. Where they
That's true. Maybe they're like going to get rid of it. They're like, we got to get rid of this little nugget before it turns into a big nugget.
I mean, maybe he's just a mutant. Maybe he's just appears to be a normal gorilla, but he's some kind of mutant, and his parents were normal. Who knows? Who knows? But then Dad comes home and finds the girl has hidden the gorilla in his bed as a joke. The dad can see there's something in the bed and almost shoots Joe. I think it's funny. As soon as the dad comes in, he notices the flashlight is missing from where it should be. The flashlight that she stole to trade for Joe. She's like, "Ooh, I'm being so bad. This doesn't belong to me." I thought she was pretty cute.
She's adorable. She's adorable.
It's a shame how her life turned out.
It is.
Oh, I did want to mention before we go on, this movie did get an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
Oh, nice.
It did not exist back when Kong and Son of Kong came out.
Right.
I'm not sure, but this might have been the first time something was eligible for that. And they wanted to make a sequel called Joe Meets Tarzan.
Oh, shit.
But it did not do very well, so they scrapped that. But I would have been on board for that movie.
You would have been on board, huh?
Oh, yeah. I would have watched that. I think there might be a comic book of Tarzan meets Kong. I know there's a Tarzan meets the Planet of the Apes. Or no, there's I think there's Planet of the Apes meets Kong, and there may also be a Tarzan meets Planet of the Apes, but there's probably a Tarzan meets Kong. But I would have been there for Joe meets Tarzan. So, but the dad is like, I'm not raising a baby girl. The girl has no friends.
Yeah.
She
I think
wants
in this
Joe.
scene you also find out that her mom died.
Yes, yes. So she wants Joe so she can stop playing with a doll and play with something live because she has no friends. She seems to be on good terms with the workers and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
no one her age, I guess, is around.
Right.
So dad's like, I'm not raising a baby gorilla. And then cut to him raising a baby gorilla.
Like you do. It's a
Yep.
very typical dad move to like, we're
Yeah.
not getting this dog.
Yeah.
And then, to be the one raising and falling in love with the dog.
There's no way I'm putting on a dress. And then he's wearing a dress. That's an F Troop joke. So yeah, the poor girl has no friends. So dad decides, even though he knows at some point the girl is going to become dangerous, that he'll let it stay around. When we set up in this scene, the music, Beautiful Dreamer.
Yes.
She plays. She has a little piano-shaped music box that plays Beautiful Dreamer, and she plays it to Joe when he's going to sleep, and it's his favorite song. And she swears that this will always be his home, and we will always be friends. New York, 12 years later.
12 years later.
Not Denim.
Enter stage left to douche nozzle Max O'Hara.
Max O'Hara, Robert Armstrong playing a variation on Carl Denham. I think he's actually doing some acting here, though, because he has a different vibe than Denham.
Agreed. I agree totally.
He's a lot more energetic and frantic.
Yeah.
And zippy, and I like it. I think I like him a little better than Carl. But Max O'Hara Productions, and we see him on the phone trying to make deals. He is building a new nightclub, and this slow Joe cowpoke Greg is in the office trying to show his letter of introduction from Tex Woods.
Greg Johnson, champion roper.
He's hoping that he can go. He heard that O'Hara's going to Africa, and he's hoping he can go to Africa with him because he thinks it'd be cool, and he could probably rope some stuff in Africa.
He can probably rope some stuff in Africa.
And Greg is from Oklahoma, not Texas, so fuck you, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. Trash.
Go back to Oklahoma, fucker.
Seriously.
Yeah, they specifically ask him if he's from Texas, and he's like, no, I'm from Oklahoma. We can't rope in there, too. And so Denham realizes, not Denham, O'Hara. O'Hara decides maybe he does want to take this him and a bunch of other cowboys to Africa to rope some stuff, but come with me because according to my secretary here, I'm 2 hours late for the dentist.
Yeah,
which was a weird detail.
Very strange.
2 hours late.
And what? And just his reaction in general to this, like she's like so frantic, like trying to get his attention, and he's just like putting on his coat.
Of course, he probably would have been waiting in the waiting room for 2 hours anyway, so it's all fine. So we cut to Africa. Greg has caught a lion. Some English dude is there helping out. I forget that guy's name. Something English.
I also
Crawford.
don't know.
I think it's Crawford. I wrote it down.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I mentioned him later. And Max is sending fictitious reports back to New York, claiming to have fought off pygmy cannibals.
Hi,
So that's going to score a few points on the racist meter. So far, there's been two. I mean, there's some implicit colonization stuff, but it hasn't been too racist. But then he talks about pygmy cannibals, and I'm like, ugh.
Yep, there it is.
And they've been there 6 months. Then there's some noise, and Crawford recognizes the noise and is surprised because we're 100 miles from that country, and it's Joe. It's a gorilla making some noise nearby. But I guess Crawford's been around. He knows what it sounds like, and he knows he doesn't belong here, which he doesn't. Two guys carried him here from God knows where.
I will say too, the sound effects of this movie, like Joe's the sounds that Joe makes were like way scarier.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like they finally got the sound effect. Like it was a scary ass sound, like
Okay.
his like actual growl and stuff. But it was just like this movie. It's funny that they got it like the scariest sound this movie, and he's like the least scary.
Yes. So 18 minutes into our 93 minutes, we see full-grown Joe, which is much sooner than when we see Kong and
Kiko.
Hugo. So that's good, I think. I think we're already an improvement. I mean, we saw baby Joe, but now we see 12-foot tall Joe. Only 18 minutes we had to wait for that. And for some reason, Joe seems to be trying to get the lion out of the cage.
Yes, I do not understand what Joe's relationship or thoughts with these lions are the entire film.
Yeah, because it looks like maybe he's just trying to get him because he hates lions. At first, it looks like he's trying to rescue him, but then the lion bites him and he gets mad
Right.
and turns over the cage. He's in one of those wagon, a cage on wheels, like you'd see in an old fashioned circus wagon or on a box of
Yeah,
animal
like
crackers.
think Dumbo.
Yeah. And he's in an animal cracker, a life size animal cracker box, and he turns it over and tears it open, and the lion runs off.
Yeah, but he obviously like tries to grab it. Like he's like,
Yes.
rah.
Yes, but it gets away. It gets away, which reminds me, the kill count in this movie is very low. It is possibly 0, maximum 3 lions.
Yeah, I have 0 question mark next to
Yeah.
my kill count.
3 lions are badly assaulted, but it's unclear if any of them are actually killed.
Yeah, all of the humans that Joe grabs, he just kind of like shakes around and then
Yeah.
like throws.
Yeah, he throws somebody so in this first fight, they decide to try and capture Joe, and of course he's not having it. And at one point, he picks up a guy and throws him, but the guy's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody jumps on horses, and there's a bunch of horse stuff. They try to rope Joe. There's some elephants that get scared in the stampeding. There's a big chase. A lot of what is meant to be comedy stuff with O'Hara and his horse.
Was it? Oh, I
It
know.
was meant-
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
right.
When he
They
can't, when he
sped up-
can't saddle the horse.
Yeah, he can't get on the horse, and they've sped up the film a little bit and dubbed over him
Mhm.
yelling, "Hey, horse, don't do that. Hey, come back here, horse." This is meant to be funny. The whole movie is, I think, meant to be funnier than the other two.
Right.
This part, of course, is not funny, but it's obviously supposed to be. And Joe, so after a lot of chasing around, Joe gets a hold of Max and has him at the top of a small cliff and is about to throw him off. And then Jill arrives, grown-up Jill arrives
Yay, grown up Jill.
and stops the assault and chews out Greg for bothering Joe. And it turns out that they've been poaching because she owns the land that they're on. Have they been poaching for 6 months? They're on safari, so maybe they're moving around to a lot of locations. And I don't know if they've just set up camp or if they've been camping there for 6 months that she just noticed.
Well, she does say it looks like, I think it's like 5 miles is the
Yeah,
like within
everything
5
within
miles.
5 miles of here is
Yeah.
my limit. So Dad has died off screen also 6 months ago. So coincidence?
What?
They've been on safari 6 months. Her dad died 6 months ago. Seems shady to me.
Seems pretty sketchy.
And Max says, "Am I dreaming, or did I see a gorilla and a beautiful dame?"
There's that good old Dennis behavior there that we love so much.
That objectifying sexism of the period.
Yeah, where's that beautiful dame? Find out where she lives. Like, what?
So later on, Greg comes to her ranch house to apologize and runs into one of the workers, some African woman who is speaking Swahili at him. And again, I appreciate that she is allowed to just speak Swahili and not some stupid caricature.
Right.
So as far as it's, there's still some inherent implicit racism in the movie, but as far as these things go, I think they got off a little, well, we'll see worse later. But for now, the Africans all are treated with a degree of respect and as individuals who have their own culture and language. So yay for that.
Way to go, 1949.
Yeah. But he's finally able to talk to Jill, and she tells him that Joe's the only friend she has, which is just depressing, especially now that her father's dead. And then Max and Crawford show up. Everyone apologizes, and everything's Jake now, right? And Max explains he wants to open a club in Hollywood. We were in New York at the beginning of the movie, but apparently this club he's opening is in Hollywood.
Right.
I'm not sure why this New York producer is opening a club in Hollywood, but there you go. And he wants her and Joe to come to Hollywood, and he'll make her famous, and she can buy nice clothes and sign right here, baby.
We're gonna make a famous lady out of you.
Yeah, but at least the other two guys are trying to represent her interests a little bit. They're like, hey, don't rush her into anything. What's the matter with you? Calm down. And Joe arrives and gets mad when he sees these guys, but Jill calms him down with a pretty good effect where she throws bananas to him and he catches them. And I think the whole point of this little scene is just to show off the effect.
Yeah, of her throwing the banana to him.
Yes. And then the model appearing to catch the banana that she has thrown.
Right. And this gives O'Hare his visions of his show that's going to give him millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. So then we again cut to Hollywood and Max O'Hara's Golden Safari, starring Mr. Joseph Young of Africa, or as I prefer to call it, Club Cultural Appropriation. And here we see some maybe not so great. There's the whole place is just sort of a caricature of Africa and just a white guy's idea of Africa. So the whole place is decorated in an African motif, and there's some guys in there on drums and dancing, and they're probably they're probably African Americans, not people he's brought over from Africa. And everybody's just dressed up ridiculously. Oh, and there's lions behind the bar.
Oh yeah, the lions behind the glass. What a terrible idea. I was actually thinking of this. Imagine that this is real. It would be really cool for like a second until one of those lions just takes like a gnarly shit.
That's right. Is the glass will contain the lion, but will it contain the smell of the lion?
And everyone just like sipping their cocktails, all of these rich white people just have to watch this lion take a huge dump.
Yeah, they got to watch it, and they're probably going to smell it. Do you really want to have cocktails at the zoo? Because that's basically what's happening here.
Ew.
But we get a bunch of people at the bar who seem to be impressed, but who is Mr. Joseph Young of Africa? So Max comes out onto the stage in his safari outfit to introduce Jill and Mr. Joseph Young of Africa, and she comes out in a pretty dress and is at a piano and starts kind of poorly playing Beautiful Dreamer, and the whole audience is like, what is this?
What the hell? Yeah, I also do want to say, right before she starts playing, there's this table of gentlemen that they're talking about Max O'Hare, and they're saying like, what do you think it's going to be like? And they're like, it's probably going to be a flop, which I think just like is another indication that this guy sucks always.
So you think his previous projects have been a lot of hoo-ha that didn't come to anything?
Yep. That just the way that like table of gentlemen like talked about it. It was like, ooh, he's got a bit of a reputation, I see.
He promotes something heavily, and then when we see it, it's just crap. I think the show he's put together ends up being kind of impressive, though. So
yes, definitely. I think that's like why it's so shocking. But I think that everyone was expecting it to suck.
Yeah. So, and it kind of is sucking at first as she's playing beautiful. She's clearly, an amateur piano player, but her platform starts rising, and it's rising in darkness. And we can actually see wires on it at some point, because I guess they must have been actually raising the platform. And then the lights come on, and we see that Joe is holding up the platform.
Gasp!
The audience starts to lose their shit. They're a little shocked at first, but when Joe doesn't go ape, so to speak, and tear stuff up, they all decide this is pretty cool and give him a big round of applause. And Joe seems to be a big hit.
Yes, I do like in this point it looks like he starts getting dizzy as the stage just rotates. He gets like dizzy eyes.
I didn't notice that. Yeah, as he's holding her up, the whole thing that he's standing on starts turning, and her platform with it. So yeah, I guess he's not used to that and starts getting a little dizzy. So next, and I guess this is meant to be the same night, Max comes out and he's had a costume change. He's in a tuxedo now. And Joe's going to have a tug of war against the 10 strongest men in the world. And he introduces each of them individually. And I realized, and I was like, oh my God, this is taking forever. He introduces each guy. They're all wearing sort of matching leopard print
lingerie.
One strap unitards. Lingerie. Sort of the combination strongman and Tarzan outfits that they're wearing. And he introduces each of them by name, and they each do some little strength shtick, bending something or breaking something. And I realized later when I looked it up that part of the reason he does this is these are all real guys. Those are all their real names. And that last guy was an actual boxing champion, an Italian world champion boxer. So
wow.
I'm sure that's why
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why they bothered to tell us who each of these guys were. And then they have a tug of war. Well, first Joe sees Max and tries to kind of grab him.
Yeah, I also want to say in the 10 strong men, Mountain Dean forgot to tuck.
Did he?
He did. Yeah, if you just want to like play that back. He's like the third to the last guy. I was like, whoa.
Was he not wearing proper support under his?
He was not. I even, had to rewind it a time or two just to like LOL.
I did not notice that. My eyes were elsewhere. And apparently slamming Sammy Menaker's mother's in the audience, because when he's introduced, some woman yells out, "That's my boy!" Yeah. And the next guy, I think someone yells out, "What a man!"
Oh man.
So, but they have a tug of war. Joe wins, pulls them all into the water. There's water, but between the two sides of the rope, he pulls each of them into the water. And the boxer, Primo Carnera, tries to box with Joe, and Joe just kind of flicks him and knocks him on his butt. But then we see after the show that poor Joe is being kept in a cell in the basement. And he does not seem at all happy about this. And Jill's not happy either. And she asks Max, "How long do you think you're going to want us?" And of course, he completely misunderstands because he's like, "Oh, don't worry. You're working for me from now on.
Forever."
Yeah, when of course she means, how much longer are we going to have to do this crap? He's like, "Don't worry, you got job security." And then we jump ahead 10 weeks. The show is in its 10th week, and Jill is famous and being harassed by autograph hounds on the street.
Yes, I think somewhere right here is we also find out that she's underage.
Yes, that comes in the next scene when she gets inside. And Greg's talking to Joe, and we find out Joe's not eating. And Jill comes rushing in, and he's like, "Oh, the autograph hounds again." And Jill's like, "I'm so stupid. I didn't realize you'd have to live in a cage," which is kind of stupid. I don't know what she thought.
Yeah.
Where she thought he was going to be housed while they were in this situation. But she tries to quit. And Denham, keep calling him Denham. Max O'Brien tries to hold her to a contract. And that's when they point out this contract is bullshit. She is underage. This is sort of an issue, partly because of the contract, but partly because of the budding romance between her and Greg.
That freaking poser.
But I'm not sure if they mean by underage just that she's under 21 or that she's under 18. The actress was 20 when this movie came out. So depending on how long it took them to film it, she was 19 or 20 when they were filming it.
Right.
So maybe she's 20, but to sign a contract, she needs to be 21. or maybe she's 17.
What did you say the year is supposed to be?
Supposedly starts in 1939 and then jumps ahead 12 years. The release date is 1949. In the IMBD, the young girl is listed as age 9, I think. So jumping ahead 12 years, she would be 21-ish.
Yeah, it looks like
about to turn 21.
yeah, it looks like it was changed to 21 in 1909. So yeah, maybe she is just 20.
Yeah, so that's not as bad as it sounds.
Right.
But still, Greg is 30. Ben Johnson is 31 when this movie comes out.
Escándalo.
And she's 20 when it comes out. But that's Hollywood for you. So, but Max guilts her into giving him some more time to find another act. You can't just leave me high and dry. And 7 weeks later, they're still there. The sign is now a neon sign that says 17th week. So I'm wondering, does he get a new neon sign made every week? That's
Of course he
much more
does.
expensive than just changing a poster every week, I would think.
Yeah, but when you're a 12-foot gorilla
Yeah.
in the middle of the city, why not?
Yeah. So now we're in the club and the waiter's there's a new act. Joe has a new shtick. The waiter's handing out Frisbee-sized fake money, like fake pennies, that people are supposed to throw to Joe when he comes out on stage. Because they come out doing an organ grinder routine where he's supposed to be a monkey. She's got an organ, little crank organ, and he's got a little cap on like an organ grinder's monkey, and people are supposed to fling these fake pennies at him, and if he picks the one with your number on it, you get free champagne.
Disgusting. It was horrible. Yeah, I hated it.
It was. And Joe seems to understand that he doesn't like the things getting thrown at him, but he seems to understand that he's being humiliated by being dressed as an organ grinder's monkey.
Yeah.
He seems to have a feeling that this is beneath him. And everybody's laughing at him as they throw Frisbees at him until Jill finally says to stop. And
well, because that drunk douche throws a glass bottle.
Oh, does he? I guess I missed that.
Yeah, the drunk guy, the table of guys that gets drunk, and then he's like an asshole to the cigarette lady.
Yeah, ruins her tray of cigarettes.
Yeah, that guy. He throws a glass bottle and it hits Joe in the head.
Yeah.
And he starts getting upset.
Right. But we do get a moment here where we see Max is not a complete jerk. Because the cigarette girl's concerned that that's going to come out of her pay. But Max sees what's happening and tells these guys to calm down and that her cigarettes are going to be on their bill.
Yeah.
He's looking out for his employees to an extent. He's not putting up with this sexual harassment that's being done to the cigarette girl. So that's one of the better moments that he has. But the three assholes, they're mad that they didn't get the free champagne. They're mad that they got chewed out, and they decide to go give Joe a drink. And Greg and Jill have gone out to dinner. So Jill cuts off the act early, and then she and Greg just go out to dinner.
Yeah, she's not even fucking there.
Right. So they're not there when these three drunks manage to get backstage and downstairs somehow, because club cultural appropriation has bad security.
Bad security and only one place to keep this huge cage.
And then meanwhile, Greg is promising not to let Max talk Jill into quitting again. Jill wants Greg to go back to Africa with her. And then Greg is like, you can't just be asking guys to go back to Africa with you. And she's like, well, I'm not asking anybody. I'm asking you. And Greg kisses the underage girl full on the lips.
Wah, wah, wah.
But maybe she's 20. Who knows?
We're hoping.
Movie doesn't seem to have any problem with it. So then we go back to the drunks, and they've given Joe a bunch of booze, and then they get mad at Joe for drinking all the booze, drinking all our liquor. And one of these assholes ramps up the asshole factor by burning Joe with his cigarette lighter. And
Yeah.
Joe loses. And it turns out Joe could have broken out of that cage anytime he wanted. He just wasn't drunk enough to do it.
Joe is on the sauce.
He breaks out, tears up the nightclub, and here's where he may or may not have killed 3 lions, because I guess he just freaking hates lions.
He just really hates lions. Like, it's so, every time there was a lion on screen, he's just like, fuck that lion.
Lions killed my mother.
Yeah, he like and both times too, I'm like, is he freeing them? Like, maybe he's like, oh, animals in a cage, like they're like me, I'm gonna let you out. Like, no, hell no. He lets them out, and then he's like, fight me in the street.
Yeah, beats on them, throws them around. He might have killed 3 of them, but one of them he throws and it is clearly okay. It turns from a puppet into an actual lion that is somehow skidding across the floor. And I don't know how they made that happen. I don't know who off camera threw that lion across the floor. Several lions were harmed in the making of this motion picture.
I did notice too in that scene that Joe even saves like a random person from a lion.
Yes. One of the patrons is being attacked by a lion, and Joe saves him, but doesn't kill that lion, I don't think. And then he knocks down one of the fake trees that's sort of a pillar in the club, which catches on some kind of ceiling fixture and just starts to bring the whole damn place down. Jill and Greg come back from their dinner and from their makeout session, and this shit down. And she and Max and Greg all try to, because the cops are on the way now and they don't want the cops to come in and get Joe, so they run inside. Greg chops down a fake tree to block the door, and the police manage to get in and start shooting lions.
Yeah, I really thought too at this moment like that Joe had gotten shot. The way they like play it, like you hear the gunshots, boom, boom, and then she says like no, and then it's like the end of scene, and I was like, oh my gosh, oh no, is he dead?
Yeah, yes, I think they want us to think that Joe might have been shot.
It was good. I was concerned.
But we cut to a courtroom where the prosecutor is reluctantly arguing that Joe needs to be put down, and the judge reluctantly agrees. And the police apparently have nowhere to keep Joe because he's back in his own basement with new bars. These new bars will hold him. But later we see that the chain that is holding the bars shut is very small. So Joe probably could have broken. It doesn't matter how strong the bars are if the chain holding them closed is not equally as strong. But Max has a plan. And here's where we see that Max is much better than Carl Denham.
Yes, definitely.
Because he realizes that he has made a mistake and that he should have left Joe in Africa. And he has a plan to take steps to rectify the situation.
Yes,
Joe's going to be shot by the police, and it's his fault,
and it's going to be my fault. I was like, woo, 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 you did it. You're real people.
So we've made progress. I think this movie is kind of a conservationist movie in which people actually learn from their mistakes. People go and exploit nature, mess it up, but then realize they've made a mistake and they try to fix it. So that's an improvement over Kong, I think.
Agreed.
But then part of Max's brilliant plan is to get the policeman so there's a cop down there who tells Jill, you don't want to be here when they come to shoot him. Go upstairs. And then Max comes down and just does the worst faking of a heart attack. This is worse than Fred Sanford faking a heart attack. Have you ever seen Sanford and Son?
No, I have not.
Anytime Fred Sanford would get upset about something, he would pretend he was having a heart attack, and he would cry out to his dead wife Elizabeth that he was coming to meet her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Any distressing sort of news, he would be like, oh Elizabeth, I'm coming to see you, Elizabeth.
I
Well,
feel
this
like
was
I've heard this. I feel like
yeah,
I have maybe heard like maybe this referenced or something.
yeah. So Fred for Sanford is clearly faking, and Max is faking much worse than that. And the cop takes him upstairs. It's allowing Jill to sneak down and unlock the very small chain and gets Joe out and then somehow gets him up to the street. Not clear how she got him past the cops. I guess there's a back door to the basement, loading door or something.
Mm.
And then the cops are up there in the office with Max, and they're all like, "Oh, well, we got to go shoot that monkey now." And Max cuts the phone cord. They go downstairs. Max cuts the phone cord and then leaves a blatant clue for them to find. Leaves a paper just laying on the floor and runs out to meet Joe and Greg and Jill in the rental van that they've gotten to take Joe to there's a boat waiting somewhere they're going to take Joe to. Max's assistant, his press agent or whatever that we saw earlier in the film, has tampered with, Windy is his name, has tampered with the police car engine so that they won't be able to follow.
Oh, there's this part too when this is happening, when after he cuts the phone cords, when the cop like goes and he picks up the phone and he's like, "Operator, wake up, operator." What? I'm like, does he not know how a phone works?
Well, back then, sometimes you couldn't dial a number directly. You would have the operator dial it
But
for you.
didn't you have to like go to zero? Like, wouldn't you like do
No.
zero first?
You didn't necessarily have to dial zero. You might just pick up the phone and kind of click it and call for the operator.
Oh, I see.
At least that's the way it seems to work in a lot of movies.
I see. That makes way more sense. I was like, what the hell?
When I was young, to get the operator, you had to dial zero.
Yeah, same.
But earlier than that, the operators were just there. And most of the time, I think you would just tell the operator what number you wanted rather than dialing it yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Phones were weird. Not everybody had a pocket computer they carried with them all the time back then. The operator had to physically take a cable and plug it into another slot for you to make your call. But yeah, he doesn't know that she's not asleep. The cord's been cut. So Jill and Greg are in the van with Joe. Wendy and Max are in Max's car. And then Armstrong does this stunt. Max, played by Armstrong, does this stunt for no reason.
For no reason.
Climbs from his car while the car and the van are driving next to each other. He climbs out of the car and into the van, kind of leaps onto the van. And then they immediately stop for gas.
Yes, they immediately stop for air. I was like, what?
Air, yeah, not even gas, air. One of the tires is low. So they weren't in such a hurry that they couldn't stop and pull over because they pull over just moments later.
Yes, I had this exact same thought. Like, what the fuck?
And while they're pulled over, a hobo of some kind tries to get into the back of the truck and sees Joe and flips out and runs to the police. And this guy apparently only speaks Irish Gaelic.
Is that what it is? Because he just says, that's my old man's lingo. So I wasn't sure.
Lingo. But when he goes to the police and is trying to tell them about this gorilla he just saw in the back of a van, but they can't understand him because he's speaking some foreign language. But one of the cops says, that's my old man's lingo. But then when that cop identifies himself, I didn't write it down, but he identifies himself as by an Irish last name. So I assume it must be Gaelic that the guy is speaking. Because, back then all policemen were Irish, in the movies anyway. I mean, that has some basis in reality. Probably has to do with prejudice. No one wanted to hire the Irish except the police. There's a whole history of, bigotry against the Irish when they first immigrated here. So probably the only jobs they could get were as police.
Huh.
Anyway, that's why I conclude that the guy is speaking Irish Gaelic. But now they have a tip off of what direction. Oh, so I forgot that the clue he leaves them is a map to Las Vegas so that they will think when he dropped the paper on his office floor.
Mm-hmm.
Map to Las Vegas so that the police will think that's the direction they've gone in, but they're really going the opposite way.
Brilliant.
How they're going to get there without their map, I don't know. But now they know, because of the Irish guy, they now know that the truck is heading in the opposite direction. So they send out the word to go the other way. But then there's an altercation in the road. Some guy is blocking the road with his truck, and the rental van with Joe in the back can't get past. So Greg just gets out and punches the guy.
Yeah, he just gets out. Up until this moment, I thought, Greg, that you were a poser, but this proves that you are down.
I mean, the guy is being kind of a jerk and he won't move his truck. So he punches the guy, and then they get a brilliant plan. Put Joe in the back of this convenient truck, and Max will take the van and lead them on a wild giant ape chase. They put the other driver in the back of the van.
The old switcheroo.
They assault and kidnap a random stranger they ran into. The truck with Jonah gets stuck in the dirt, so Joe gets out and pushes, and they get unstuck, and then the cops following him immediately get stuck in the same spot. And as they drive away, the police are shooting at Joe, and he just taunts them out the back of the truck.
Yeah. Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, like, Joe gives the finger, ? He just, like, throwing gang signs.
Yeah. He comes very close to just flipping them off. And by this point, the police have found Max in the van and arrested him. And they all get out and they tell Max to push. And he's like, nope. I refuse to help you chase my giant gorilla friend. And then as they're driving to the dock, there is an orphanage on fire. And the screen turns red. And that was cool.
That was really cool. I really liked the red. Going from the black and white to the red, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
So they put a red tint over the whole film because there's a raging fire going on. And black and white films used to do this kind of thing occasionally, depending on the movie, where they would do some minor coloring of this type. And it works really well, I think, in this movie. Mm-hmm. So that the Seacliff Children's Home is on fire, and our heroes stop to help, even though they're being chased by the police and they're trying to save this giant gorilla. You know, they're decent people, so they stop to help with the fire. And some woman is bringing some kids out of the building, and she yells that there's 2 more children upstairs, and Jill runs straight into the fire. Amazing. Greg gets caught up with the woman and the children. He gets delayed. He wants to run in too, but he just gets an armful of kids. He literally
has to catch her.
Yeah.
She falls. He literally catches this woman.
Yeah. So Jill runs straight up the stairs into this burning inferno, and then the stairs collapse behind her, so Greg can't follow. But he's got, rope tricks, so he ropes an outcropping on the building and starts climbing up, and Jill finds some kids hiding in a closet. This orphanage is terrible. They clearly have no fire contingency. And I don't know how standard such things were back in the 30s, but I would think they'd be. I don't know how many orphanages had to burn before all orphanages had a standard escape plan where everybody knew where they were supposed to go. But these kids are hiding in a closet. Jill finds them and starts leading them upstairs away from the fire. Maybe not the best plan. But there's a very cool effect where the front of the building collapses, and then we can see them running up the exposed stairs.
Yes, super cool.
I thought that was very well done, which also means, though, that Joe can see them going upstairs, so he knows to climb up a tree to get to them.
Save his mama.
So Greg climbs up the side of the building on his cowboy rope. Joe climbs up a tree and gets onto the roof, and Joe rescues Jill. Greg almost falls off. Breaks some slats in the attic window thing and gets a blanket and ties the 2 kids in a bundle in the blanket and lowers the rope over the side of the building.
Them cowboy skills.
Yeah. And then he climbs down, at which point we find out, there's a baby.
But there's more.
Someone miscounted, and there's a baby who's they say baby, it's a toddler, maybe older, but there's a young child who apparently sleeps in the attic, because must have been that kid's blanket he took. So this kid whose bedroom is in the attic comes out onto the ledge, and they see the kid, but the rope has burned Greg can't climb back up it. No, it doesn't occur to anybody to take the blanket they just used and try to catch the baby. Although good luck getting it to jump. So
Yeah.
Joe goes up to save the child.
Yay.
Gets the kid, but then the tree catches on fire. He can't climb down it. And there's a little bit of a sort of, I feel like this is kind of a Kong reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
same.
Joe's climbed up a tall thing with a person in his hand,
Mm-hmm.
and his life is in danger as the tree burns up underneath him. But then the tree starts to fall, but it kind of gets caught on something, so it doesn't crash down on top of Joe. But he turns and falls and saves the child. But as he's laying there, the kid gets up and walks away, and then another side of the building starts to collapse. So Joe runs over there and grabs the kid and takes the brunt of the force of the building on himself. Now, at this point, did you think Joe was gone for?
I did. This is the second time where I was like, oh no, he's dead. I did think, I was like, man, that was that they didn't do that very well. But then I realized, oh, okay, he's not dead.
Yeah. But by this time, the police and Max have shown up, and we hear Max saying, "It's all right, kid. There's no way in the world that anyone's gonna shoot, or no one in the world's gonna shoot Joe now."
He's a baby saver. He saved my baby.
So I like Joe getting to be heroic and everything, but really his life should be of value without him having to have saved the baby.
Let's just take a moment of silence here for Harambe.
Yes. Yeah. It shouldn't be like, oh, now that we know Joe is useful, we're not going to kill him. It wasn't his fault that humans took him out of his environment and got him drunk to begin with.
Man, stay off the sauce, kids. Stay off the sauce.
Harambe died for your sins.
Oh, shit.
So now we cut back to New York, and Max is putting together a new show, and he's got to have girls who can swim like fish. It's going to be a big water show, and somebody suggests, I got a monkey act we could put on rafts, and he's like, no more monkeys. And Wendy comes in with a home movie that Crawford took and sent to them, and watching this home movie, we get to see that Jill and Greg and Joe are all back in Africa, living a happy life. And they do the banana trick again, but this time it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed.
I did, yeah. It didn't go as well.
And I rewound it to make sure. She throws the banana and Joe reaches out to grab it, but we see the actual banana fly past him and off screen.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's just in his hand.
Yeah. So this worked much better when she was standing in front of him and tossing it to him. But when she's standing to the side of him and tossing it, there's no way for that banana to go.
Yeah.
He pretended to throw it, and I think that would have worked better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We would have our eyes would have filled in seeing the banana fly, or we would have just assumed it went too fast for us to see it.
Yeah.
But they lived happily ever after in Africa. Nobody dies except possibly 3 lions,
but we're not sure.
And the movie ends with goodbye from Joe Young,
from Mr. Joseph Young
of Africa.
Yes.
So I did like this one actually better than the other ones. I think they finally I feel it's less problematic than the others. And the effects, I think, in general are a little better. Of course, they've had 2 movies now to practice them.
Yeah, and a few years.
And the help of Ray Harryhausen. So
boy.
That is a good thing. So any final thoughts on Mighty Joe Young?
Well, I will say that I felt emotionally connected to Mighty Joe. I was rooting for him. I loved him. I was like, boo, humans, as per usual. But yeah, I really liked this one. I really enjoyed this one. I am excited for the next. What are we watching next?
Next will be The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
1953.
Okay.
The monster is a Redosaurus. Redosaurus? I'm not sure if that's a real dinosaur. I think it's a made up one for the movie.
Oh yeah.
But there's also an old Superman cartoon that I want you to watch before you watch that movie.
Okay.
It's called Arctic Giant, and it is available on YouTube.
Ooh.
Because all these old Max Fleischer produced Superman cartoons are all in the public domain now, so you can watch it on YouTube. Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is on Vudu to rent or buy. I believe it's on Amazon and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if it's on any HBO or any of those things, but look around. It's readily available. And as I say, Arctic Giant is available for free on YouTube.
Go it.
So join us for that next time. And for now,
wait, did you have any final final Mighty Joe Young thoughts?
Oh, I think I pretty much said it all. I liked it better than the other ones, and I think they really finally got it down. Unfortunately, it didn't make any money.
Boo.
And this was remade years later in 95, I think, and we will eventually get to that movie, I hope. 95 or 96? I don't know, sometime around then, by Disney.
I remember this movie being around. I don't remember if I've seen it or not, but I definitely remember it being around.
I don't think I've ever seen it, but I might go ahead and watch it even before we get to it on our list, just cause.
Just cause.
1998.
98. Okay, yeah.
Same year a Godzilla remake came out. All right, so that's all from us. I am Precious D.
And I am Honey Bee.
And thanks for listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texicano Folk Rock Punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/MNFTG.